Nirva LaFortune is a Democrat councilwoman in Providence. She wants to be the mayor. We've had her in before. Want to invite her back to studio. Councilwoman, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Last time you were in, let's get this out of the way. You're defund the police. You voted against the budget. Are you still defund the police?
I voted against the budget because I had passed legislation for the police department or public safety in general to provide us with a comprehensive public safety plan for the city of Providence. I wanted to see, and many taxpayers, residents want to see how the funding will be allocated to ensure that we are using the resources effectively and resourcefully as well. And so for me, it's, you know, if you work for a company, if you want additional funds, you need to be able to explain how those funds are going to be used and the impact that it's also going to have.
Right.
So I've never said defund the police, but what I've said is accountability, holding our police department accountable, ensuring that we also have a public safety structure that meets the needs of everyone. I helped design, I led the effort to design the public safety behavioral health crisis program, but also a public safety infrastructure where community policing is embedded, and you have officers who reflect the community that the communities that they serve are walking the beat, and in the neighborhoods to serve the community.
All right, but in the end, you didn't get the answers you wanted, so you voted to defund the police budget. Now that's become a very prickly thing for a candidate to run on. Things have changed since the summer of unrest. Do you want to refine your answer? You're saying you never were defund the police?
I never said that word. I always said
in action, though, were you? You voted to defund their budget.
But the budget was not defunded, and
you voted against it, though. You voted to defund.
No, I voted against so that we can have the information to the public that outlines how those resources are going to be used. That's not defunding, that's called accountability, and that's what I asked for.
You're not defund the police.
The police department has not been defunded. In fact, if you really think about it, in the past, since I've been on council, we've had one of the most diverse police police officers that have been recruited to the police force. And that is something that I have talked to the chief about and the commissioner from the time I started on city council. And so for me, it's about accountability and also creating a public safety infrastructure that meets the needs of all Providence residents, whether it's someone who's experiencing violence that the police officers can respond to, whether it's someone who's experienced a behavioral health concern and we could send the crisis response team to de-escalate the situation, intervene and connect people to services, or whether it's needing community policing, police officers who are walking the beats. But if you want to have an effective and efficient public safety infrastructure and we are providing funds, what we should also have as a public, as taxpayers, is a comprehensive plan outlining how those funds will be used.
You've said that,
and that's it.
And I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but you voted to cut the budget. The budget wasn't cut because the majority of the council voted the other way. We have to be clear on that.
Well, let's be clear. I did not vote to cut the budget. I voted not to approve the budget until a plan was outlined and was shared with the public.
And then
those are two different things.
The council majority went differently. Okay, you've said what you've had to say. And by the way, you're from Providence.
I grew up in the city.
You were just rattling off the neighborhoods and the streets, which is very comfortable. Would you keep the current police chief? Would you keep the commissioner, or would you make wholesale changes?
Well, it depends. So there are a couple of things. One, I would have to have a conversation with the current police leadership. I would like to see, and the chief has talked publicly about the possibility of retiring. I would like to see a leadership within public safety that also reflects the diversity of our city. We've never had a police chief of color. And so if the police chief decides to retire, and I will say I have cultivated a great relationship with Chief Clemens. In fact, I still remember the first time I invited him for community dinner. This is pre-pandemic, of course, to my home with the commissioner, with community members, people who lived in my neighborhood, just to really build a relationship with him and the police department. And so I have a lot of great respect for him. But again, if he's planning to retire, this is an opportunity for us to hire or appoint a police chief of color and that truly reflects the diversity of our city.
Well, you say that. Why wouldn't you want the best person? For example,
It has to be the best person.
When candidates select you, I don't think you're saying elect me because I'm a woman of color. Elect me because I'm the best candidate.
The best candidate will always be a priority, and that's why I would implement a process with community public input so that we can select the best candidate for the city of Providence.
What if the best candidate is a white male?
The best candidate might be a white male, but we should also take the necessary steps to ensure that we have a pool of people that reflect the diversity of the city. That means people of color, that means women, that means white males, that means people within the LGBTQ plus community. So it's about ensuring that we do the appropriate outreach and we have a pool of people who are highly qualified. That can do the work in an effective, meaningful, restorative way.
All right. There's a move in the council. Let's kind of work our way backward. There's objection, speaking of law enforcement, there's objection to putting these flock cameras, which read license plates. Cranston says they're working wonderfully. Some of your fellow council members are skeptical of them. If mayor, would you allow those flock cameras to come in?
Yeah. Well, I'm one of those council members that is, one of the council members that has concerns about it. One, we did not go through a public process. It did not go through any kind of legislative process with the council or at the state level. We're talking about collecting data. We don't know how that data will be stored. And anytime that we're collecting any type of data regarding people, it should be done responsibly. And so we need to further the conversation. I do believe in enhancing technology to keep our city safe, but implementing something that could have great adverse impact, I think is problematic, especially when we're talking about data and data related to individuals.
Council President Igliozzi likes the idea. You're clear on that. There's a move to perhaps elect half the school board, and then half of it would be appointed. Now, that would be a power grab from whomever is the mayor, because the mayor has the power to appoint that school board. Would you like to keep that power, or would you be open to a half elected?
I have been talking about having a hybrid school board for quite some time now. I do think that with a hybrid school board, there is a bit more balance in power, where the mayor can appoint a number of school board members with clear guidelines. And I still also think that there should be a transparent process around it, but also an opportunity for people to run for that seat and for voters to vote. But also one of the things that we didn't talk about is also creating a pathway or opportunity for non-citizens who are parents of students in the public schools to be able to vote for the school board member as well. I believe San Francisco passed legislation to enable that.
Let's hit a couple of topics, just a few minutes left. That Fane Tower appears poised to start construction. Do you support that, or would you still continue to fight that?
I would still continue to fight that. So the first thing is that the spot zoning that was done, we have a comprehensive zoning plan. There weren't appropriate assessments that were made to determine if the market has a need for that type of housing, environmental assessments. Number two, the community has been saying that this is not what we need. Number three, it sounds like what's being built is going to be high-end housing. We need more moderate income housing as well as low income housing. When that proposal came before council the first time, I tried to amend the legislation so that there would be a certain percentage of the housing allocated to affordable housing or to pay into the fund. Also, there was a sunset stipulation where if they didn't break ground by a certain time, then the deal, would be off the table. And also, there would be some funding that would be allocated into an account or a fund to take care of the surrounding parks. I do think that it is an issue. The housing need doesn't seem to be clear in terms of the price point. So that's a fight that I will continue.
Not a fan. We're going to have to wrap it up, but we're going to have to at some point talk about the Superman development, which I know you suggested mixed-use housing there. Also, at one point you told me mixed-use housing for the mall, maybe to fill some of the space. I remember that in the last interview. And just finally, with 30 seconds left, I'm tight on time. You work at Brown University. Would you be able to butt heads with the people at Brown, which is a traditional role of the mayor of Providence? They're never happy with the money that comes. There's a lot going on there. Do you feel comfortable that you'd be able to stand up to Brown?
2 years ago, I actually passed legislation to do a full assessment of the pilot program to ensure that the city is receiving its fair share from all of our major nonprofits in the city of Providence. I have talked openly about pushing our nonprofits, including Brown University, to invest more into the city, to help with addressing some of the major disparities that impact our communities. But at the end of the day, we need collaboration from our major nonprofits. I passed that legislation 2 years ago. There was a report that was written at the beginning of the year, and it called for better collaboration. We've seen what Yale University has done. And so all our nonprofits can do more. Our major nonprofits can do more to truly invest in the city of Providence and to pay their fair share.
Nirva LaFortune, Democrat, City Councilwoman running for the mayor of Providence. Thanks for coming in. Nice
Thank
to
you
see
for
you again.
having me. Thank you.